covering news that matters. Fox 23 News at 5:30 starts right now.
A couple who let hundreds of boxes of donated food spoil outside and didn't give Thanksgiving turkeys to a local church could now go to jail. Glad you're with us here at 5:30. I'm Nathan Thompson. Shay has the night off. For several years, Tulsa's investigative reporter Janet Clark told you about a couple who ran a nonprofit accused of shady practices. She found out there are now warrants out for their arrest. It's her follow-up Fox 23 investigation.
It's a saga that started with this. Stacks and stacks of boxes of rotting food piled so high you could see it from the sky. Inside this church building, rats ran through this disgusting mess. And this guy even threw stuff at our drone. The nonprofit accused of causing this chaos? Oklahoma Heartland Heroes.
Going through, and there are apples and onions and salvageable things in here.
That's Victor Colbert. He and his wife, Penny,
I'm Penny,
both ran the local nonprofit. It's an ongoing drama I've been telling you about since 2021.
That's all we're doing is trying to feed as many people as we possibly can.
When Victor and Penny first went to court in 2022, Penny celebrated with this happy dance. And after she gave Victor a hug, they both waved to our camera. But then a judge decided to make them pay up.
I wasn't real confident that we'd ever see anything.
Rusty Gunn, pastor of Church That Matters in Sand Springs, was cautiously optimistic his church's nightmare with Heartland Heroes was over when this finally showed up in the mail.
Received the very first $79 check.
A judge said Victor and Penny each had to pay back the church in restitution payments each month until they paid $3,379. That's less than half of what they actually owed.
Yeah, I guess it is what it is.
Rusty told me his church gave Heartland Heroes more than $6,700 for turkeys, so his church could donate them to families for Thanksgiving. But Rusty says Victor and Penny took the money and gave his church nothing.
The money itself certainly hurt us in that moment because it was a big gut punch.
Basically, the same thing that happened to your church happened to the Tulsa Dream Center.
It did at a far larger scale.
Court documents show the Tulsa Dream Center paid Heartland Heroes almost $29,000 for hams and turkeys, and the Dream Center has never received any products that they paid for. For that, Penny got a felony charge, obtaining money by false pretenses. Victor and Penny both face that same felony charge for what happened with Rusty's church.
It just makes me sad. That's all. It's just that there are people out there who would take advantage.
Before that, I'd been following Victor and Penny's trail that started in North Tulsa. When I first checked out the tip in 2021, I saw this dumpster loaded with rotting sandwiches and apples. Around the corner, food and produce, gallons of milk, and containers of cottage cheese. I could smell it stinking and rotting. You paid for the hundreds of boxes of donated government food with your tax dollars.
I think that the media and the camera should be on us and our plight. See, we distribute to 3,000 to 4,000 people a week.
Heartland Heroes failed to give away hundreds of boxes of food to needy families. Instead, the food was sitting outside. When I confronted Victor, he told me he did nothing wrong.
It's food distribution. Sometimes we're going to have food waste. Sometimes it goes bad.
He said they handed out a lot of food.
This is what's left over.
But that's a lot.
Compared to what?
I don't know.
No, that's relative.
I know, but I just know
that's a lot to who?
To me, I guess.
I think we did a pretty admirable job.
The USDA disagreed and opened an investigation. They said later they would no longer provide food to Oklahoma Heartland Heroes. That's about the time we were getting video, and this guy, who's related to the Colberts, threw something at our drone. Look closely. Turns out it was broccoli. That guy also stepped on our drone. The pastors of the church said they just couldn't deal with the mess anymore.
It was smelling so bad around our church that we could not stand outside of our building, and the flies were horrible.
Before they left, Victor and Penny trashed the inside of the church's building. They left it full of stinking, spoiled food, and rodents took over.
There's rats in here. They're everywhere. There may be a snake underneath here. There he goes. There he goes.
That's a little guy.
Yeah, they're everywhere. There'll still be more in here, too. There he goes. There he goes. There he goes.
Then the Colberts went to Creek County, and Robert Stamper said they did the same thing to him. He says they tricked him into leasing his land to them. Robert showed me all the food they let go bad that was sitting outside.
This one's got Jimmy Dean sausage and turkeys. That one's got turkeys, ribs. Here's the fish. It thaws out, and then they had to refreeze it again. Been doing that 2 or 3 times.
So all the food thawed out and then refroze? And it's happened 2 or 3 times?
Yes.
Robert says they piled all sorts of things into this huge heap.
Do you think they're going to leave you with all this mess?
Yes, I know for a fact they're going to leave me with all this crap. Yes, there ain't no way they're going to get it out of here.
That's a lot.
Yes, it is.
He was right. Robert says they left the pile and didn't pay the money they owed.
I just think they was blowing a bunch of smoke. They was lying to everybody.
Then right down the highway, Bill Bressler says Victor and Penny did the same thing to him too.
At first, were they believable?
Very believable. You know, they can lay down a line of crap. You know, better than anybody I ever seen.
Bill says when they took off, they owed him a bunch of money and left all this junk for him to clean up.
Took advantage of a lot of good people?
A lot of good people, yeah, that had big hearts and would do anything to help somebody.
The record was following them, though, and eventually they got caught.
Rusty says the culprit sent his church a few checks in the mail, but that was the end of that. The Tulsa County District Attorney's Office says Victor paid $19 and Penny paid $10 in March, and that was it. The payment stopped. Victor still owes more than $2,700 to Church That Matters, and Penny still owes more than $3,200. Penny also still owes almost $28,000 to the Tulsa Dream Center.
If they miss one of these payments, then what?
My understanding is they would go to prison.
Rusty was right. You can see in court documents the judge just issued a bench warrant for both Victor and Penny's arrests. Rusty's stance has stayed the same. He wants to forgive, but also protect other people.
Grace abounds. We just don't want to see it happen to anybody else.
In Sand Springs, covering news that matters, Jana Clark, Fox 23 News.
Do you have a tip or issue that you think Jana Clark should investigate? Let us know. Email FOX23 Investigates at fox23.com or call 918-388-5354 or search Fox 23 Jana Clark on Facebook.